How can you fight lies with lies? Being dishonest to try to like make Harry and Meghan look bad doesn't make any sense. Using honesty to show and demonstrate how dishonest Harry and Meghan are makes sense. Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Welcome to another video. Today I wanted to talk about some rumors that have been floating around the community and a lot of questions that I've been getting about these rumors. Because I think it's important to clear up what's going on and acknowledge your questions, because I've had so many people asking me about these things. I don't want to just ignore them, but normally I would not make a video that even bothers shooting down rumors or mentioning rumors. But I think it's important just because so many people have been asking. Obviously, we got to have a chat. Some of you saw my post. I made a post because I knew it was going to take me a little while to get a video out to you. But there's even more to say than just what was in the post. So let's get into it. Before we do, I would like to invite you to subscribe, click the like button and the hype button, and share this video, but only if you want to. So lately, there's been a few rumors floating around that are extreme or clickbaity. Obviously, these rumors are starting somewhere. I have no idea where. I don't really have a ton of time to watch other videos from other creators that cover the royal family or the Sussexes. I research from like primary sources and from news articles, and I cross-reference them across multiple news outlets to create videos for you guys. So that's usually how I get my research done for a video. I'm not ever watching other content, so I do not know where these rumors have started. I have no idea. But clearly there are some channels that are just pushing clickbait and rumors and making stuff up, quite frankly. And I am not trying to or call out any specific creators because, like I said, I have no idea where these rumors came from. Some of you have said they've come from other channels, but again, like I'm not familiar really with them. What I am familiar with is some of the channels that are starting to pop up and cover or claim to cover some of the royal family stuff, some of the Sussex stuff are just like bot or AI style channels, or it's just someone who's splicing together a bunch of other creators' content and then using like an AI voiceover for it. And they take word for word some of the content from my videos and other creators' videos. It's not just mine, but I can speak for myself. I won't speak for other creators on the platform, obviously. But they've taken my videos word for word, and they have taken clips, just lifted them and screen recorded them from YouTube, and then are uploading clips as their own and splicing them together with other creators' clips. And I get notified about it occasionally when YouTube picks up the copyright claim, and I can, say, yes, this is a copyright problem, but unfortunately, it's really hard to get YouTube to actually take down the content or the channel. So if you see these types of channels that have like a clip of my content and a clip of someone else paired up with other clips from other people, you should know that's never original content. That is them basically stealing content from other creators. So if you ever see my content spliced together with another creator's, then they've stolen it. So the only way to handle that is for you guys, if you see it, to report it. So I would encourage you to report it and also to not support those types of channels that splice together other creators' content. I'm not sure that that's where the rumors are coming from, though. It could be from a different creator or from like just online rumors. But what we're going to talk about today primarily is the online rumors. The rumors that I have seen you guys talking about in the comments, I have looked into a little bit. One of them is that Tyler Perry is suing the Sussexes, that he's suing them for millions, possibly connected to something like their house, like mortgage payments past due, for example. There is, at this time, as of filming this, absolutely zero lawsuits filed by Tyler Perry versus the Sussexes. He is not suing the Sussexes, at least not right now. And it wouldn't make sense for him to be involved in their mortgage either. He's not a bank. And so even if he like did some sort of private loan to them or personal loan to them, that would not be a mortgage. That would just be that he loaned them money, and then they're maybe, if they weren't paying it back or something, that's, I suppose, could in theory happen, but it wouldn't be categorized as a mortgage. So there's absolutely no evidence that Harry and Meghan are behind on their mortgage. There's absolutely no evidence that Tyler Perry is suing them. As salacious and juicy as those claims may be, there's no evidence of it. There's also no reason to believe that the Sussexes would not be current on their mortgage. Harry has plenty of familial wealth, even though they're spending money obviously more quickly than they are making it. Surely they are not in such dire straits at this time. It just wouldn't make sense. If you see somebody claiming this to be true, you should know that anytime somebody files a lawsuit against another person, it is publicly available information from the second that lawsuit is filed. And with how much the Sussexes are covered in the media and put themselves in the media, it is certainly something that mainstream outlets would pick up on. So I feel like this is a great example of just reminding us all to fact check things and double check things. So I went to see what happens if you Google this claim, and what comes up is misleading, because there is an AI summary of these claims from someone who started this rumor that pop up, that if you don't dig a little further, then you could assume, well, see, Google just told me, yes, there is stories right now of Tyler Perry suing, or of Meghan and Harry's mortgage payments. And where that's coming from is that the AI search engine situation sees that there is content being created and comments about this subject. It doesn't make it true, though. When you look a little further and say, show me evidence of this, or if you are just looking at reputable news organizations, or if you go to look up cases in state court, you will not find any cases from Tyler Perry against the Sussexes. And you won't find any evidence of any issues with Harry and Meghan's mortgage either, for goodness sakes. So it's really important to look, not just look and see or search, but to see where those sources are coming from. If they're all just coming from Facebook or YouTube or Reddit or hearsay or comments, then they are not reliable sources. If you see lots of different news organizations confirming and corroborating a story, that's when you know you can trust it. And that's what I do. And that's the only type of stuff that I include in my videos, are things that are for sure reported in multiple outlets with multiple different sources confirming these stories to be true. Otherwise, I try to make sure that I maintain the context of, this is what most people have said, or this is what all the employees are saying, or this is what this author has said, or this journalist has said their sources say, rather than making it seem like it's 100% fact when, some of this stuff there's just, it's not, or there's no way to actually prove it. Like, for example, there is a difference between a rumor like this, where there is absolutely nothing to corroborate this story. It's a big nothing burger, compared to rumors that are consistent or have a consistent pattern and have a big trail. There's some rumors like those of working with Meghan and Harry from multiple employees who did not necessarily know each other, did not always work at the same time or during the same seasons or months or years, and worked with the Sussexes in 2 different continents, sometimes 3 different countries. You have employees all saying the same sorts of things. That, where there is rumor there versus, just, this person's account, those things seem a lot more reliable, but they are still technically a rumor because we technically don't have like a video to prove this. Those are certainly a lot more reliable because they are corroborating one another. There is a pattern established. But something like this, if you go and you try to find any degree of corroborating evidence or support for this rumor, you can't. It all leads back to just 1 or 2 people repeating it online, and that's it. So that's just not true. And be sure that you're checking, not just asking Google or asking a search engine whether it's true, but checking where the sources for it are. Show me the evidence is always an important step to take before you believe something. Similarly, this Chanel suing Meghan rumor. This rumor that a design house is suing Meghan Markle is also false. It stems from this story that Meghan Markle wore this dress in New York City recently, which was from the photo shoot from the Cut magazine, I believe it was. This is just not true. There's no evidence of Chanel suing Meghan Markle or suing anybody, really. And Chanel wouldn't. A design house would not be like, I'm going to sue you for wearing this dress or stealing this dress or something like that. They probably wouldn't sue somebody over something like that. What they would do instead is just probably blacklist the person, not allow them to shop in their stores, or not supply them with any further garments from their design house. Because as much as a design house could be annoyed at these sorts of things from happening, they still don't want to create negative press for themselves or seem like they are overly aggressive to where it could make other people a little wary of working with a design house that has maybe like an aggressive reputation or a questionable reputation. It's kind of like the same problem we see with publications. No publication wants to be too harsh. No publication wants to have a worst dressed list anymore because it just seems a little rude or it seems a little aggressive. And they don't want to be seen as mean or shaming people, or some people conflate worst dressed with body shaming for some reason. And so no publication wants to be the one known as doing that or having like a hater vibe or making worst dressed lists. So everybody just tends to say, all the publications just tend to do praise only. And they're just like, oh, this was wonderful, this was amazing. Or it's a little bit of a pay to play that your publicist gets you on those best dressed lists. No matter what you're wearing that night, they're like, you'll get on the best dressed list. So that's something that we run into when we do fashion editions a lot, which, by the way, a lot of my fashion editions are moving over to the second channel where they can have their own sort of vibe, because fashion editions sometimes feel like very different content to what we do on this channel. So if you like fashion editions, be sure to subscribe to the second channel. I'll put it up on screen here and try to link it for you as well. And you can go over there if you like fashion editions. But anyway, this Chanel story brought up an interesting point for me that I wanted to share with you. It has come out that Meghan Markle, when she has done photo shoots, she and her team discuss with the team doing the photo shoot, who are supplying the clothing, that Meghan must take the clothing that is featured in the photographs home with her, because they could fall into the wrong hands and be auctioned off for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And Meghan doesn't want anyone else to have those clothes and be able to auction them off or sell them off. Because in her twisted mind, she believes that the clothing that she has worn will carry the same value as the clothing that Princess Diana once wore, which has been auctioned off for hundreds of thousands of dollars at times. Meghan thinks that she is on the same level as Diana there. Isn't that insane? That is crazy. But that is why Meghan Markle keeps the clothing from every photo shoot that she does. So please, community, do not be surprised when you see Meghan Markle in an outfit or a clothing item or a piece that she has worn in a photo shoot in the past, because she has convinced people that there is a very real risk that they will fall into the wrong hands and be auctioned off, and she doesn't want those people to get that money or to have access to auctioning off clothing that she once wore for a photo shoot. So Meghan demands that she is allowed to take home everything that is featured in the photo shoots. So you guys just don't be surprised. This is what she's been doing. And this story has multiple sources confirming that this is what she does at photo shoots. And we have seen her in outfits and dresses from previous photo shoots. And her team is like, oh, it's just a standard practice. But her team also corroborated that story and said that, yes, she does keep the clothing, not just because it's standard practice, but because she doesn't want it to fall into the wrong hands. Her team confirmed that little tidbit. So that story I do believe is true. And I just, don't be surprised. She's not stealing it. But she did manipulate the situation to convince them that the only way she will participate in this photo shoot is if she gets to keep the clothing, for the delusional reason that she thinks somebody will ever pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that she once wore. It makes no sense. I don't see her carrying that same weight at all. Part of why Diana's clothing or memorabilia involving Diana goes for so much at auctions, one of the caveats is that oftentimes it goes to charity. When somebody auctions off something of Diana's, not all the time, but there have been a lot of times that it went to charity for a good cause. So that feels very different than what Meg is talking about. But one of the biggest reasons why Diana's memorabilia or clothing or things like that carries that much value is because she passed away so young, and because she was the mother of the heir to the throne, Prince William, and she was married to Prince Charles, and she was going to be queen one day before the divorce. Because of all of that, her clothing and memorabilia carry so much more value than anything Meghan could ever imagine. Like, those are just two completely different ballparks, miles and miles apart in significance. It's crazy. I mean, like, could you imagine, like, Fergie auctioning off her clothing for hundreds of thousands of dollars? Andrew's ex/still life partner lady? No, because Andrew is notorious and, no longer a prince and all of that, disgraced, duh. But also Andrew, before all that happened, if we separated out the scandals, Andrew was not going to be king, So it's the same sort of vibe with Harry. Like, him and his wife they do not hold the same level of prominence. And therefore, clothing or memorabilia from them is not going to hold the same value. So it's weird that she thinks that, but that is why she's been seen in outfits from photo shoots, and that is why she has been taking the clothing and why they've agreed to it. I mean, a lot of these publications, you're dealing with stylists and photographers and people of that nature, editors, who don't really necessarily follow the royal family stuff and don't necessarily understand the difference between Meghan and the real royals. They don't fully get it, and that's okay. Not everybody is interested in it. Not everybody pays attention to it. Not everybody is from the UK, the people who are Americans or from other countries who are not Commonwealth nations. I think it's safe to say the majority of them don't know the full dynamic or story and don't fully understand the station that Harry and Meghan have. And it's very much lowered status to the real royals, the working royals, and those in direct line to the throne, which Harry and Meghan are very much not really in that realm at all. So it's understandable to me that a team put together to execute a photo shoot with Meghan would just kind of be like, well, okay, this is what she said. I guess whatever. It's not that big of a deal. They'll write it off as an expense. But they should. I mean, it would be nice if they understood a little better and just said, no, that's dumb. But they don't. And that's one of the ways that Meghan takes advantage of the situation. She takes advantage of the fact that the majority of Americans don't really know that much about the royal family or the Sussex story. And that's what we saw playing out in the Netflix mockumentary, fake-cumentary, with the curtsy and all of that, and Meghan comparing meeting Queen Elizabeth to that tacky dinner theater experience. I don't even remember what it's called. I had never heard of it. But she thought that she could mock the traditions and Queen Elizabeth because she assumed that all Americans would just be like, oh, yeah, lame. She was wrong. Anyway, the last rumor I want to talk about is the IRS investigating the Sussexes and or Archewell. There's been a lot of talk about this lately, and this is one rumor that has been repeated by multiple channels, I believe, because I asked Google, where is this rumor coming from? There was several different social media sources, but here's the thing. The IRS has taxpayer confidentiality. It has a little specific statute, IRS Section 6103, that basically prohibits the IRS from confirming or revealing details of any investigation or audit at all. So any channel that's saying that the Sussexes and or Archewell are under investigation or under audit by the IRS is not being truthful, because even if someone from the Sussexes or the IRS leaked this, which if Camp Sussex leaked it, they're just making themselves look bad. That doesn't make sense. If the IRS leaked it, then they are breaching their integrity and, potentially breaking the law. And I don't see that as very likely. Just like, what accountant is like, yeah, you know what? These people are under audit. I don't see that as very plausible. But regardless, even if those leaks were out there, any content creator or journalist wanting to confirm whether this is true, contacting the IRS to be like, hey, are you investigating or are you auditing Archewell, would be told, we cannot confirm or deny any audit or investigation. That's the answer you would get, and that's it. They have a policy that they do not do that. Therefore, this should never be presented as a fact. Could it be true? Of course it could. And there are certainly grounds for the Sussexes and for Archewell to be investigated or audited by the IRS, 100%. I'm not saying it's not happening. It totally could be, and it should be, probably. I don't know. But there's no way to confirm that as a fact at this time. There's no way to say for sure it's 100% happening and true. And even if it were, unless there is like criminality going on, the IRS never even discloses if there had been an investigation or an audit, unless, like I said, there's like enough for there to be criminal charges filed. That is the only way we would ever find out about it. So therefore, that claim is just, there's no way to guarantee and confidently say, yes, this is true. Unfortunately, that also is not a valid claim. Like I said, there could be an investigation going on. Of course there could. We all know that there's been a lot of questionable stuff happening. But because there's no way to confirm that story, and it's not being reported by any reputable news outlets, it's not corroborated by anything, and there's no way for us to independently confirm it, then we can't state it as a fact, and we can't say for sure this is happening. So it's really important, in my opinion, to just not start spreading rumors that we cannot confirm, that are not corroborated. So I think it's just really important to maintain a degree of integrity, because like I said in the post, there are plenty of things to criticize Harry and Meghan and Archewell and all of the things that they do that are reputable and that do matter and that are able to be confirmed with facts and cross-referenced and double-checked, and we can say for sure this is happening, or things that we can say these are relatively reliable rumors, really consistent pattern of rumor and behavior and reports from people close to them. Things like that make sense to criticize or to discuss or to report on or to talk about. But things like this that are at this time baseless or impossible to confirm, I don't find to be helpful or really a good use of our time to think about or talk about or mess around with. And part of that is because when I'm going to make content, I want to make sure that there is that level of integrity, that what I'm telling you holds water, because I don't want to turn around and have to apologize or retract or be like, oh, I was wrong about this, that, or the other thing. Of course, I've been wrong about things before, but like, I don't want to have to do that. I want to be a channel that you can come and know that I'm not just making stuff up. I'm not fabricating things. I'm not making things up at all. And so I want to keep that level of integrity here on this channel. So that's why I typically just ignore these things. But so many people have been talking to me about it that it's got to be being talked about by more than one channel, or perhaps some of those AI channels are kind of taking content and splicing it together and making it misleading. I don't know. But misinformation is not something that I have any interest in peddling. It's vacuous, pointless, kind of just not something that I'm interested in. And so this channel won't ever operate in that way. And since there is obviously some misinformation finding its way into this community, I want to make sure that I clear it up as best I can and encourage you to look deeper, cross-reference, double check. And like I said in the post, if you don't like, having to wonder if what you're watching, the channels you're watching or the information that you're getting is true or not, then unsubscribe or don't watch the channels that are saying this type of stuff, or watch it knowing that it's not necessarily factual and it's just entertainment value. But because the Sussexes have been so awful, but yet they have this PR campaign that they are victims, it's a little bit of a slippery slope getting into, rumors and promoting and spending a lot of time circulating or pushing things that are just plain rumor or conspiracy, because it just gives the Sussexes more ground to stand on to say that the internet's being unfair to them, rather than a consistent, firm boundary of no, lying on TV is what the real problem is, Meghan and Harry. Treating your family horribly is what the real problem is. Taking your privilege for granted and biting the hand that feeds you, those are the types of things where the real problem is. Saying that you're going to do all these things and live a life of service and make change and make the internet a safer place and get people paid family leave, and then abandoning those causes just as quickly as you pick them up to look at them. That's the problem. It's not people just making stuff up and conspiracy theorists and crazy people online. It's not that. It's that Meghan and Harry's behavior is bad and questionable. That's what the problem is. And I think it's more worth it to stick to that for a lot of reasons, because the pattern of public figures just taking advantage of their privilege and lying willy-nilly and using their power as a way to get away with lies is a big problem in culture and in society, and it needs to stop. And keeping the defense to that truthful and honest and full of receipts and staying in a place of integrity is the best way to combat people like Harry and Meghan and other high profile figures who just think they can lie all the time and get away with it. How can you fight lies with lies? It doesn't make sense to me. I'm a Virgo though. I am very keen on honesty and trust, and loyalty and stuff is something that I inherently take very seriously. So for me, being dishonest to try to make Harry and Meghan look bad doesn't make any sense. Using honesty to show and demonstrate how dishonest Harry and Meghan are makes sense and is what I prefer to do. But that is all I have to say about this at this time. And I hope that it clarifies some of these stories and reports for you guys. And I hope it makes sense. I hope what I have said makes sense and doesn't come across as rude to any creators, because it's not personal at all. I like I said, I don't even know who started these rumors, where they have come from. I have no idea. It might not be a creator. It might just be an AI bot channel or something somebody made up. And I have no idea. Hopefully this video makes sense, and hopefully my thoughts come across the way I intend them to, which is just to clarify this stuff and just kind of touch base on these rumors and the reason why I feel it's important to avoid diving too deep into conspiracy and rumor and all those types of crazy things as a creator on this channel and in this particular space where I do know a lot of the history of Harry and Meghan. And that's why my subject pool is a little bit more limited, because I feel confident in the history and the facts, and I can pull in the receipts and the evidence or the examples to show you guys, to make sure that the videos that I make are full of facts and give the complete story and are backed up with evidence. That's part of why I keep the subject matter narrow to the royals, to Harry and Meghan on this channel, because I know the history really well and I can provide the examples and the facts easily and still be able to put out quite a few videos consistently full of facts. If I had lots of different subjects that I was covering, it would be impossible for me to like mentally keep it all straight and be like, oh yes, this is a great example to illustrate this point, and this fact is from this article. And I remember all those things about the Sussexes story and the royal family stuff because I've been researching it for this channel for some time. So it allows me to provide more facts to keep the subject matter narrow, is what I'm trying to say. And so I will continue to do that because I feel like that's more valuable, because it also allows us to, when we are dealing with people who are toxic or high in narcissism in our own lives, and we see common behaviors or themes unfolding with Harry and Meghan, by keeping everything really, really factual, it can help you to better understand the patterns of behavior and see them and call them out with more confidence in your own life, in your own personal life, than it can if you were to be meddling in a bunch of stuff that's not actually true and fantastical sometimes even. And also from a PR and public image perspective, Harry and Meghan, because they did so much lying, have found themselves in a situation where people feel comfortable making stuff up and lying about them, or maybe exaggerating things sometimes, because Harry and Meghan have been so frivolous with their lies and falsehoods and manipulations that they've really put themselves into a pickle when it comes to having ground to stand on to call those things out. But we have watched them repeatedly go and talk about living in truth and being honest, and that they are victims, and that people online are just out to get them and crazy and horrible and all of these things. And we see them have no shame or problem or qualm with accusing everyone else of lying, even though they're the ones who lied and the ones who lied first, which makes it all the more important that people who are calling out the Sussexes stay sticking to the facts, so that then there is that difference that can be seen, at least like in history, across history, of, you know, here is the truth and here are the facts, and they are very, very clear and well laid out, and here's what Harry and Meghan are doing or saying, and it's very obviously dishonest. I think that that's a really important distinction to have and maintain. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Sorry it was so long and rambly and a little bit of a random video, but I think it's important, and I would love to hear your thoughts and feedbacks in the comments. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye. Also, I'd like to use this opportunity to clarify that this channel is about more than just the Sussexes. It encompasses the royal family and fashion, largely from the angle of presentation, PR, and media relations, but also through the lens of recognizing toxic patterns, narcissism, and things of that nature that we all deal with in our day-to-day. The Sussexes are so heavily featured on this channel lately only because they constantly put themselves in the news or in the public eye, and are doing so in such negative ways or making mistakes. Unfortunately, people often learn better when observing mistakes rather than just saying this was done well. Like, good examples are great teachers too, but it's better to have both, and there is a thing called brain priming. It's where when we recognize and correct mistakes, it activates specific brain regions that improve learning and performance. So essentially, it sticks with us better, or we learn better when we can see good examples, yes, but also mistakes, and actively correct those mistakes, even if they are not our mistakes, but mentally correcting them through conversation and discussion and analysis is much more impactful. So examining Harry and Meghan's mistakes is very useful on several levels. And they are so incessant with exposure, constantly making errors, that they have sucked up a lot of my schedule. I can only get so many videos done each week, but hopefully, as I've said, the case study of Harry and Meghan translates well into other things that we experience, whether it's observing other public figures or relationships in our lives, or how we present ourselves, and ways that we can boost our own confidence in avoiding those types of mistakes. Also, I do have a second channel that features completely Sussex-free content. It's very refreshing for all of us. It has a lot of red carpet fashion editions and a lot more videos about Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So consider subscribing there if you're interested in a wider subject matter. It has helped those videos just perform better in the algorithm because fashion analysis, especially red carpet fashion analysis, just isn't viewed as cohesive with PR, royal family, or Sussex news analysis, things of that nature. They're just kind of different genres, I guess you could say, and reach a different audience to some extent. Obviously, there is a lot of crossover because a lot of you on this channel, like me, enjoy both, but I separated the channels to allow them to each reach wider audiences on their own in their own categories. So even though the Sussexes kind of eat up a lot of the schedule right now, surely this can't go on at this rate much longer. We've seen the Sussexes begin to have a lot of fractures in their public image, in their business opportunities, etc. So hopefully this year will bring better balance with more royal news stories as I am able to create more time for them as well. So thank you for your patience and for your viewership.